Greetings. Myself, Sama Anjum. I'm pursuing MA English Language and Literature, first year at Madras Christian College, Tambaram. I'm going to present a seminar for the paper The Romantic Age, and my topic is the autobiographical elements in Charles Lamb's Essays of Elia. As we all know, Charles Lamb belonged to the Romantic Age, and his essays bear the stamp of subjectivity. He claimed that his essays were nothing but a heart to heart talk with his readers. It is true that his essays have a personal note. The personal I is prominent everywhere, and though this may cause irritation to some readers, most people consider it to be the special charms of the essays of Elia. On almost every page, we learn something about Charles Lamb or his friends or his relatives. Though the self revelation is often clothed in a web of fancy, we can form a more or less accurate idea of Lamb, the man, his life, and his characters from the essays. Charles Lamb is a perfect writer of the informal essay, and it is full of intimate self expression. Now let's analyze all the elements of autobiographical elements of Charles Lamb's essay. First one is Lamb's egotism. Now from Lamb's essay, we get an idea of Lamb the man and his character. In many of them, he tells us directly about himself and his feelings. In some other essays, we can easily gather some idea about his likes, his dislikes, and get to know some facts of his life. Now, in most of his essays, he talks about himself. Even when he is being more than usually objective, his personal opinion enters. Even where he does not talk about himself, he talks from a subjective point of view, and he's close to like a montage in his approach to the essay. Now we get views of Lamb's attitude to music, even though it is obviously exaggerated in his essay, A Chapter on Years. And he's constantly talking to the reader about his own attitude to the poor chimney sweepers in the praise of chimney sweepers. In Deem Children, as we all know, Deem Children is a subjective essay. Though it is a very beautiful one, it brings out the essential tragedy of Lamb's life. He analyzes various classes of people in imperfect symphonies, but it is entirely from a subjective point of view. He tells us why he dislikes certain people and is prejudiced against them. He also tells us what he admires in them. He is again talking about his personal experience as a bachelor in the essay A Bachelor's Complaint, though what he says has sound sense and it is true to observation. It is Lamb's taste for good food and his special preference for roast pig that lies behind the essay A Dissertation Upon Roast Pig. He speaks of his personal fears and aversion to death in New Year's Eve, and he talks of his disappointments and how they affect him of his love of the past and his conservative shyness of novelties and his certain hopeless attitude to the future. Lamb speaks of his personal relation to various aspects of life in all his essays, even in essays like Christ's Hospital, 5 and 30 years ago, the old benches of the inner temple, and the South Sea House, where he is primarily concerned with other people. He is talking about them from his personal point of view. Thus, we can see that a personal color envelops his essays. There is a preoccupation with self, a tendency to dwell on his thoughts and feelings regarding different aspects of life, and a habit of revealing his oddities, likes, whims, and bent of mind. And it is a characteristic that makes the essay charming to most readers. Now Lamb's egotism is not an aggressive one, and the tendency to assert oneself through one's writing, it is not like very aggressive, but it is like a gentle self-centeredness. It is the trait so common to the Romantic age that an easy, informal tendency to confide in the readers about one's own personality. what is most striking about many of his of the essays is that they reveal the different facets of Lamb's personality and feelings. Though his love of mystification and certain other factors made him weave truth and fancy together into the web of his essays, we can form a clear idea of his life from his essays. We learn certain facts of his life, that he was born at the Inner Temple and he went to school at Christ Hospital and he worked as Southsea House and India House as a clerk. We know what he was as a bachelor. We also know what he apparently loved but was refused by his early sweetheart. And he gives us a false name to his sweetheart, calling her Anne Simmons. But these are facts of his life. His essay also reveal a great deal about his character and personality. The next element is Lamb's love of the past. Now, like many other romantics, Lamb too possessed a nostalgic love of the past. Now, antiquity had a wondrous charm for him, and he declares in the essay Oxford in the Vacation. So, what he does is he praises the past, that is, he eulogizes the past and loves everything of the past. According to him, antiquity is everything but nothing. He is a half Janus looking into the past and not heading the future. So, as he says in New Year's Eve, the past is almost sacred to him, and even past disappointments are liked by him, for they can hurt no longer. All old things, be they are books, buildings, accountants, fashions, or men, fascinate him, and he hates change of any sort. So, the love of the past and the wistful feeling in his heart for the slow but sure disappearance of thing associated with the past is revealed in the Southsea House and the old benches of the Inner Temple essay. Now, next one is Lamb's zest for life. The love of the past did not, however, detract from the zest for life that Lamb had. Okay, so now he loved life and was loath to die, and his aversion for death is frankly and grippingly expressed in his essay New Year's Eve. He loves the sun, the breeze, solitary walks, the very green earth, and is ready to pitch his tabernaculus of on his earth. He says in My Relations that he likes person who does not meet time halfway but faces its challenges boldly without tamely giving it into it. So the same zest for life is found in the delight he expresses for good food and drink. His essay on roast pig again is clearly the work of an epicure. He claims frankly in his essay Imperfect Sympathies that he cannot be like Quakers who were so abstemious in their food. He declares his love for good food and drink again in the essay Grace Before Meat. He loves the theater, books, good company, gossip, and scandal, as he mentions it in his Imperfect Sympathies. Next is Lamb's love for fun. Now, Lamb's boyish love for fun is directly revealed in All Fools' Day essay, where he declares that he loves the custom of celebrating this occasion as he has more than an element of the fool in himself. The same sense of fun lies behind his frequent mystification of the reader by declaring something true to be false or by mischievously changing names and speaking under an assumed personality. He enjoyed the idea of confusing the readers. The next element is Lamb's love for London, which is very evident in almost all his essays. Lamb was a keen lover of the metropolitan city of London. Now, it is the setting and background of his literary works. He was delighted with its crowded roads, theatre, bookshops, print shops, the ballet singers, even the trade cries, gay signs, and busy markets. He missed the noise and bustle on Sundays, and he remarks it in The Superannuated Man. He found the charm in the city of London as was found by Wordsworth in the deep solitude of nature. Um, it catered to his peculiar tastes, recreations, and mental attitude. The next element is Lamb not merely gentle but strong minded too. Now, the word gentle is often applied to Lamb that one tends to forget how strong in mind and character he was. His strength of mind is implied in his essays. He did not let the adverse conditions of his life affect his attitude. So, his strength is shown in the brave and unselfish manner in which he took up the care of his sister and his ailing father, giving up his own dreams of happiness in the form of marriage and children. His sane outlook on life comes out in his essay on modern gallantry and grace before meat. He put forward views the validity of which are undeniable. Now, many of the statements he makes in the course of his essay shows his power of intellect and wisdom. Next, in his essays, we can see a collection of his dislikes, likes, whims, and oddities. Lamb makes no effort to hide his personal likes and prejudices, but frankly confesses them to his readers. In fact, he even exaggerates his shortcomings. So he cheerfully admits to the physical defect of stammering. He tells us of his short stature. He says that he was bad at figures, though this fact was not true actually. He confides in the readers that he lacks knowledge of generally well known things. Again, this is an element of exaggeration. In the essay, A Chapter on Years, he says that he cannot appreciate music, especially instrumental music. And from his essay, we can learn of his sophisticated tastes, his liking for good food and drink, and theaters and scandals. And we get an idea of his sense of fun and his liking for irony, jokes, puns, and paradox. Now, Lamb's politics and religion views on politics and religion is also revealed in his essays. Lamb apparently was not much interested in politics, as we do not know how any political references in his essay. So Lamb was obviously more interested in men and everyday matters and the reminiscences of the past, and he did not care for political matters. And as far as the religion was concerned, it is difficult to describe it from his essays. Lamb was not interested in the mystery of God and human soul. He lacked the mystic's hankering after a world beyond the earth. Now, in his essay New Year's Eve, this shows to be this shows Lamb's to be deeply in love with the joys of his earth and loath to leave it. But there is in his essays an outlook that can only be termed as truly Christian. Now, this there is charity, humanity, kindness, and even tolerance. And you can also see a calm courage, which are the moral qualities advocated by Christianity and, in fact, by all the religions in the world. Now, though he has been accused of an irreverent attitude towards religion, his essentially Christian nature is seen in his essay and his behavior in life. That is what I observed. Now, Lamb's friends and relatives. You can see a lot of reference to his friends and relatives in his essays. And Lamb's egotism extends to his friends and relatives as well. He not only reveals himself, but he also tells things about his relatives and friends. If you see in the essay Christ's Hospital 5 and 30 years ago, he assumes the personality of Coleridge, who was a friend of his, and tells us about his loneliness and friendless poverty. At the end of the essay, he takes on his own personality and writes in eloquent praise of Coleridge and his learned ability. In the same essay, we have recollections about a number of other friends who studied with him. We get to know a great deal about his school life in this essay. And we are introduced to his relatives in the essay, My Relations. He talks of his brother and sister, though he calls them his cousins. And he may call them by different names, but the people described in his essays are all from his life and are recollections of the past. Okay, and we have portraits of his aunt Hetty, who was very fond of Charles Lamb, and who had sought her to the world, and whose single blessedness had sought her to the world. He gives an idealized picture of his father in the essay The Old Benches of the Inner Temple, and in the same way, he talks of his grandmother in the essay Dream Children, and again in the Dream Children he talks of his brother. He dwells upon his love for Anne Simmons, and he always gives interesting anecdotes about these friends and relatives. Now these are the some elements which I analyzed of Charles Lamb. That these are the some autobiographical elements that I analyzed of Charles Lamb's essays of Elia. And Lamb used these form of a perfection and constantly revealing himself in every lines he wrote. I would like to conclude by quoting a French literary critic, Louis Kazamian. He says, this is a long quote, and it is very nice to understand how Charles Lamb's autobiographical elements are. So, Kazamian quotes, the fictitious figure of Elia is the main but the only center of that magnetism which organizes the reflection, the memories of books and things, the diversity of opinion and characters, the comedy and drama each day around one theme, namely the particular reaction of a soul to life, without openly taking himself as a subject, without touching upon any aspect of his own experience, but to transform it. Lamb is forever speaking of himself. It is not a case of vanity, but simply he relates what he knows best. The past, like the present of his self, offers him a fund of inexhaustible matter, which he freely exploits. One part of his being dominates and judges the other. The subjectivism of his method bears no resemblance to that of the great fanatical egoists. One discerns it in the shrewd detachment of a critical mind, aware of the illusion implied in all personal preoccupation, and infusing a spirit of irony even into the inevitable self pity, and always accompanies the contemplation of one's past. Thank you.